very special good morning, everybody. Great to be with you on today's edition of the Morning Briefing. After a brief hiatus on the show, I'm Jeff DeForest, along with the previously vacationing Mike Lubitz, who, wow, I mean, when you pulled into, what was the name of this town that you went to in Georgia somewhere?
Helen, Georgia.
Helen, Georgia, as in HELL-in, Georgia. Did they have the sign outside to welcome you? Squat down like a pig, in quotes?
It's not.
What was the scoop on that?
It's a German style town, so it's not actually super southern. It's very interesting. Anyone who's been to like Solvang, California, it reminds me of that. Very old school Germany, pre Nazi, like very old, like 1800s Germany. A lot of German.
Greet you with a Sieg Heil. Is that how that goes?
No,
I mean, why would a Jewish kid from Miami go to a place that was old school Germany? That seems like a bit of an oxymoron, doesn't it?
It's not that Germany.
Yeah.
But I know it's a good time. We had a really good time. Some wineries, some vineyards. It's a nice old school town. The food's really good. The people are nice. We enjoyed it. Our dogs had a good time. My wife's best friend, her now, I guess, husband, and they brought their dog, our husky. And as weird as of a trip it sounded going in, it actually went really well. We had a really good time.
All right. Well, that's always good to hear. Now, we're hoping that your Super Bowl week is going well, people, and we want to try to help you make some money. We're going to spend the next couple of days on that because that's what we're all about here is cashing tickets, going out there and breaking your bookies' balls and making sure that at the end of the NFL season, you have a way to get out. Now, we also are big, fond fans of inside information. Greatest piece of inside information we've ever had. I don't know. I think I relayed this to Lubie before the game started. And I forget exactly which Super Bowl it was. It was a time where I was in Las Vegas. You'll find that surprising. And I'm in Caesar's Palace Sportsbook. I'm getting ready to bet the game. I had to hustle down there at like 3 a.m. to get a seat. And then you have to grease a couple of people. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a 7-star player here, which actually I'm using my wife's card because she's a big slot player. And they love people that play the slots. They also like big bettors, which I'm not. On these occasions, and I'm trying to find a way to beat the system always, which I believe in that. That's my philosophy, Lubie. I've passed that on to you since we first met when you were a young pup in this business, and I was already the grizzled veteran that everybody said, oh, geez, that guy's finished. Which was quite some time ago. They warned you, Lubie. They warned you not to go ahead and tie the knot on this relationship. That's for sure, speaking of marriage. So I'm in the Caesar's Palace Sportsbook getting ready to put some kind of wager on the game. I get a frantic call from a guy that never calls me. I was reluctant and hesitant to answer the phone because I didn't recognize the number right away. And when most of my friends call, the designation comes up, scam likely. So if it doesn't say scam likely, I am even less inclined to go ahead and pick up the phone. But I answered this one because it was a 305 area code. I figured it's somebody from home. Maybe they have some kind of a line on the ball game. And sure enough, it's a guy who was a DJ here for many years. And he's absolutely panting. I can hear him. I can feel his heartbeat through the phone. He says, Defo, are you able to get a bet down? I know you're in Vegas. Are you able to get a bet down? I'm like, yeah, sure. But you know how it is, people. I mean, somebody calls you and you realize that not only are they not zelling you the money, this was predating Zelle being very popular, but you're never going to see the cash because you never see this guy. The last time I saw this guy was like 15 years prior. We had spoken here and there and maybe, casually met at some function, but I never really hung out with this guy. So do I want to lay out a bunch of money for him, even $100? Not really, even though I trust him. And so, sure enough, he says, I have inside information on this game. This can't lose. How much can you bet? Do you have 10,000 on you?
You have 10,000.
Think about the absurdity of that. I just happen to be sitting there in a sports book with an extra 10 dimes on me that I want to bet for somebody else that I'm never going to get paid by. What the fuck are people thinking? Anyway, so I say, well, what is it? What is it that you know? Is the quarterback going to be out of the ball game? I mean, what did you find out? He says, I know what the first song is going to be by Katy Perry at halftime.
It was 2016 is what I just saw. XLIX. I'm horrendous Roman numerals.
Okay, 2016. That sounds appropriate. All right, so we're talking not even that long ago, not even a decade ago, but it still sticks in my memory bank as vividly as any wager I've ever been a part of. So he says, I have a friend who was at the rehearsal for Katy Perry's halftime show, and she opened the rehearsal with the song Roar. Now, I wouldn't know one Katy Perry song from another. I would not be able to name you one song, at least at that time. Now I know one, Roar. So he says, well, how much can you get down? I said, I don't know. I'll go up to the window there and see if they even take this bet. I go up and the sportsbook manager is there. It's still pretty early, well before the game. And he says, nah, wait, we don't take action like that. What kind of stupid cockamamie bet is that? You're going to bet a prop bet? Now, the odds, he said, were 7-5. So I start checking around thinking, all right, if you had somebody at the rehearsal, they probably have a pretty good idea what the first song is going to be. I doubt that she would juxtapose it just to confuse the bettors, because who the fuck is going to make this bet in the first place? And sure enough, we finally find a guy who has an online account, and he gets $100, which was the max you could place on this proposition. They cap a lot of these prop bets because they're so stupid that only somebody that had inside information would be willing to go out there and risk money on it. And we get $100 off at some offshore online casino in Guam, based in Guam. So the likelihood of getting paid on the bet also was diminished down to pretty close to 0.0. But nonetheless, we put the $100 down on this. And at halftime for the game, if you're in Las Vegas or Atlantic City or now any sports book anywhere around the country, because there's like a zillion of them all of a sudden, they turn the sound down because everybody runs to the windows. The first time I experienced this, I was at a Super Bowl party in Las Vegas several years prior, and I thought, shit, I should have gone to the bathroom about midway through the second quarter because everybody runs out of the room as soon as the first half ended. And I'm thinking, my God, I mean, you'll never be able to take a leak. And what I didn't realize is everybody was running, and I was relatively naive about Super Bowl betting. Everybody was running to the windows to re-up on the second half. They'd already been buried once. They want to go out there and do it again or recover. It's like trying to get out on the Pro Bowl, which used to be played after the Super Bowl. And if you had been buried all season long, you tried to go ahead and make a substantial wager on a game that you know is just a totally bozoic effort and attempt to replicate what you see during a regular season and in the postseason in the National Football League. So the halftime action is about to start, and they turn the sound down, and here comes Katy Perry, and she comes out on the back of a line. And I'm thinking either Roar is the first song, or she thinks she's fucking Lafitte Pink Eye. What is this all about? And sure enough, Roar was the first song, and this guy cashed his bet. It turned out to be 6-5. It was diminished a little bit, maybe because we had sent in so much money. And so he ended up cashing, what would that be, like $120 on this $100 wager, which I did give to the guy. And then, of course, he questioned my integrity and said, I know you bet more than that.
Well, probably.
Like, you asshole. I mean,
well, why wouldn't you? You should. If he's giving you that
You
good of a
couldn't.
tip, of course.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
you couldn't do it. I mean, because nobody would take this idiotic, moronic bet. But
Well, it's just easy. It's easy to rig. That's the problem with a
Yeah.
bet like that. Is like if he got this information, who else? I mean, a lot of people watch the practices, are involved in it. Why wouldn't they all get on it? That's why they'll let you bet a little, but they're not letting you get rich off of a fucking bet like that.
and what about Katy Perry's people?
Exactly.
She couldn't give that out. I mean, she could have thrown everybody a curveball and opened up the rehearsal with Roar and then sang something else, whatever other song she does. I wouldn't know, but that would have been a smart move because she could have cashed in at a big price. Roar was only 6-5. Who wants to take a short price like that? But inside information always is the key in any kind of wagering. I mean, holy Martha Stewart, what are we talking about here? Sell, Martha. The thing's going to crash. You might end up doing time, but at least you do it knowing that you have a little bit of money in the bank there that they can just throw into the commissary for you, and you can buy a couple of Snickers bars and a bar. So we would have been on Radio Row with the No Filter crew and the other enterprises that we're involved in, but unfortunately, a little health issue kind of knocked me out of the box there. It would have been tough to be on Radio Row with IV bags plugged into your arm.
Yes.
Yeah, very prohibitive. But a lot of people in the media, they condemn Radio Row as being just a vile act of treason to being a journalist because everybody's hawking something. Nick Mangold had the best thing. What was that thing called? It was like a blowtorch that you cook steaks with. It was remember that he came in and
Yes, we did this. We talked about this the other day. I'll look it up.
I don't remember the name of the particular commodity that he was hawking, but it was exceptional to see this rather large man with a big beard and kind of a popular guy, just an animal of a center. Is he Hall of Fame center, Nick Mangold? It's not like he was Dwight Stevenson, but he was a hell of a good player.
He was great. I don't know if he played long enough. That would be the only thing is time playing, but in his time, he was as good as any center in the league.
Anyway, he's walking around
That
the
was
media
cold.
room there, the media center, which this year is at the Mandalay Bay. I guess it's at the convention center at the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, which would have been a hoot. One of my favorite places and destinations in Las Vegas was always the Mandalay Bay. Although of recent trips, I don't get that far
Burns-O-Matic.
down the strip.
Burns-O-Matic.
Burns-O-Matic. Yeah,
Yes, the
remember
name
that?
was just great. Yeah, I had to
And
find
from a
it.
mile away, you could not only see what was going on there, but you could smell it because he was setting the entire room on fucking fire. Cooked a hell of a steak, though, I will say. I don't know how popular it was. It sounded like something that was conceived by Ron Popeil, right up there with the Vegemanic and the rotisserie oven and that Krylon that you used to spray on the back of your head. So everybody's hawking something, though. With the bet annually, actually, what was always what would Joe Theismann be selling?
Yep.
At the Super Bowl, Radio Row. But aside from the commercialization of it, we always loved it, Lubie. While everybody was grousing, oh, man, this sucks. Can you believe it? Michael Irvin comes in and he sits down at your desk, and the first thing he does is spray Gillette right guard in your face like he was macing you. Well, really, I use a lot of this shit. Okay, Mike, you smell good, baby. Now, you want to talk about the game? You want to talk about your career? How about Jimmy Johnson? What about that crack house that you guys had when you were with the Cowboys? We don't want to talk about rate card, but and we used to oblige the people and try to get it right out of the way.
Yep.
It didn't matter. I mean, you can have like Lawrence Taylor sit down at your desk and be set to do an interview. And instead of asking him about his years with the Giants, the first question was, so you're a fan of pork rinds, aren't you? No, I'm glad you asked, Defo. It was always great. But in general, I found it to be just it was a wild convention of media types and people in the business, all levels, from the lowest guy now with a podcast. No, the lowest level of, you would have newspaper writers that were working for some weekly in outside of Los Angeles, all the way up to the highest of people at the network level. And it was just a great blend for a few days. And you would never have access to this type of interview subjects at any one time in any endeavor that you were in. Even if you were covering the Oscars and all these movie stars were there, you wouldn't be able to get to talk to them and sit down and have a little BS session with people on the level that you did on Radio Row. So I always loved it. Always loved being on Radio Row. Wish we were there this year. We had plans and aspirations since it was announced that the Super Bowl was going to be in Las Vegas, Lubie. We had plans to be there. And I actually, and this is sad because my wife has a little nasty habit of playing the slot machines. And the casinos love slot players. I think they love slot players more than big sports bettors, more than people that are sitting there sending it in at the craps tables, and certainly blackjack players, whatever. Slot players get the most amazing accommodations and considerations that you could imagine. And we just got a note after we had to cancel our trip because of this little medical situation. No, I'm not dying or anything, but unfortunately I have to stay home and, be confined here for a couple of more weeks. It's not bad. I mean, it's good for working. Hey, why don't you sit down and do some work, DeForest? That part's been okay. We're trying to get something accomplished. But I just had received notice that our accommodations had been upgraded to a suite level.
Oh, jeez.
On the house. They're charging
for this
people
weekend? Oh, for this
for
week?
Super Bowl week. We were supposed to be
God.
there. I was supposed to leave yesterday and be there through Monday. But yeah, very unfortunate. So disappointed that we're missing the one in Las Vegas. I don't know that anything will make up for it. I think they should have it in Las Vegas every year. Is that something that Roger Goodell is considering?
I meant to tell you, I don't know what our future is, because the hours we're putting in now, it's almost a waste, the kind of stuff we used to do, but obviously would have gone. It is in New Orleans next year. So if it's not in Vegas, another city we do enjoy a great deal is New Orleans.
Second only maybe to Las Vegas in terms of Super Bowl destinations, unless you're not from South Florida like we are, Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, in which I would think that this would be the pristine destination for many, many people. California, not too bad, but it's a little bit too spread out. But yeah, New Orleans, okay, we'll make some plans to be there no matter what, because it's a good place to do some business and see all the people that you knew in the business and, just basically hit them up for a job. Hey, you got any work for me? That'd be great. All right, we want to get into a wager here real quickly here as we wrap up today's edition of the Morning Briefing. Now, I like to cash a ticket before the game even starts.
Okay.
That's my goal every year. And naturally, just to compound the frustration of betting on sports in general, I can't just bet a single entity. I have to make a parlay. So I have a 2-prop parlay for this year's Super Bowl, and I'm going to stick to it, Lubie, and I'm going to go ahead and lay some money on this, although a little bit of research needs to be done on, I believe, Reba McEntire is singing
she's
the
singing
national
it.
anthem. Reba McEntire.
She's a
Now, my
country.
general theory on the national anthem, over under proposition, which I believe is always around 2 minutes and 1 second, something in that neighborhood.
Do they have it set already? Because they don't always set it this far out.
Well, and you would think that the analytics people would take a look at it and say, okay, Reba McEntire, is she going to need to be in the spotlight, realizing that a billion people are watching this thing? I mean, some performers you would have to think are going to just relish the spotlight and try to milk it for all it's worth. In other words, at the end of the song, if they're a little bit short on the over-under, they'll take a deep breath, and that's what I always look for. The person that takes that big, deep breath and goes, yeah. And you have your stopwatch out there. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. You're trying to clips an over on that. Now, Gladys Knight, I guess, was the best. She took about, you would have thought that she was going into a chorus of Inagata Davida in the middle of this thing.
Oh, so here's some research. I know we got to wrap up.
Yeah.
She's actually notoriously fast at singing it. I think the line's at 90 and a half seconds.
Oh, my God.
She has sung it before in 83 seconds.
All right. So
she's been around a long time. She's done lots of national anthems. So unlike some of the people in the past where you're just sort of going blind off of like one performance, they have lots of research on her. So
I like when they bring like a conga line out there with them and a guitar accompaniment. Give me Tracy Chapman right out of the Grammys there to play a long intro into the song there before Luke Combs gets up there and says, well, basically, I stole this thing, but it's a nice tribute to this woman here. And everybody seemed to fall in love with that. I want somebody that's going to drag it out. So I was going to go with the over, but now that's good research, Lubie. So here we go. We're going to go tails on the coin flip, under on the anthem, and hopefully we'll have made a score long before they ever kick the ball off. Never mind. I don't care what Andy Reid does. I don't care if Shanahan fucks up another Super Bowl. It won't make any difference to me. I'll already be out and enriched by the fact that Lubie did some very careful and astute research on this thing, going, oh, yeah, she always goes under. What is the over-under, though? I mean, they take into consideration 90 and a hook.
That's what I'm telling you. Under 90 and a hook is tough. But they said she's usually around 83 seconds. I don't know what you do. Now, look, this is the Super Bowl. I don't think she's ever done the Super Bowl.
Does she skip a verse? Is she like Robert Goulet? What the hell?
She just keeps it going. She doesn't do any of the hemming and hawing and the head.
No. Milk it, baby, milk it, Reba. Unbelievable.
Yes, I don't know. I'm curious. That's a very true number. Like, I wouldn't know what to do with that. Yeah, that's tough.
Maybe we ought to get onto something else. All right, we'll come up with something else tomorrow. There goes that theory. Over in the anthem and tails. I'm going with tails. I mean, obviously it's a 50-50 prop there, heads or tails. Seems like that's something that you could rig. I never will forget when I was thinking that I was late to get to see the kickoff of the Super Bowl. And I like to watch things from the absolute beginning. There's a lot of stuff happens there. What if the guy runs it back for a touchdown on the opening kickoff? So I'm on that little tram that goes above the sports book at Caesar's Palace. And I'm trying to get down into the sports book so I can enjoy the game. And all of a sudden, I hear this raucous cheer. I mean, everybody's going nuts. And I thought, oh, shit, I missed like a touchdown. And all it was the coin flip. And everybody was going crazy. They all had money on either heads or tails. You would have thought that Janet Jones was in the building there, Wayne Gretzky's wife, who took down the entire New Jersey Turnpike police force troopers. But when she ended up busting up their betting ring by having records of the fact that she was betting the over-under on the anthem and heads or tails. She had a philosophy very similar to mine. All right, a lot of fun being with you. We'll have some more insight into the Super Bowl, some real insight in the next couple of days. And good to be back here on the morning briefing. For Mike Lubie-Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next time right here on NoFilter.net, Caffeine TV, on the next edition of the morning briefing.